Welcome to the Ulster County Regional Chamber of Commerce virtual breakfast meeting.
Good morning. I'm Dave Gagnon, Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I'd like to welcome you all to the Chamber's virtual breakfast meeting, come to you live from the 721 Media Center in Kingston. Wherever you are this morning, at work, at home, I'd like to ask you to stand and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. To everyone watching this morning, on behalf of the Ulster County Regional Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, we welcome you. The Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors has been assisting and supporting Chamber staff for the past 2+ months now to ensure that we're providing the most current, up-to-date, up-to-minute information and guidance for more than 1,000 local small business members. This has been a challenge, to say the least. With pertinent information on a recovery occurring at near light speed, the Chamber of Commerce has been focused on transforming our Chamber website into the central clearinghouse for all local, regional, state, and federal news information. If your business needs help, be sure to check the Chamber's website, ulsterchamber.org, and click on the COVID-19 resources for business. And if you need further assistance, please don't hesitate to contact the Chamber office at 845-338-5100. We are here for you. This morning, I'd like to congratulate the Chamber's young Ulster professionals who have been very busy during the pandemic, giving back to their community by first volunteering at People's Place and then by organizing a very successful virtual fundraiser for People's Place last week. The object was to run, walk, hike, or bike a 5K road race on your own home treadmill, exercise bike, or even better, outdoors. Everyone who took part paid a $15 registration fee, with all fees going directly to People's Place. Well, thanks to the nearly 60 participants and many others in our community who supported the fundraiser, Yelp will be handing a check to People's Place Executive Director Christine Hine and the amount of $1,700. Congratulations to Nicole Fuco and all the amazing young professionals. A special thanks to race sponsor Gagnon and Associates CPAs, and also the following businesses that donated gift cards, which will be given out at random: the Emerson Resort and Spa, Turn Up the Beat, Hamilton and Adams. If you are a young professional, we invite you to become part of this dynamic organization. You can find more information on the Chamber's website. The Chamber's next virtual breakfast meeting in June will be a celebration to the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. The 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified on August 18, 2020. Next month, our special guest will trace the history of women's suffrage, giving it a local perspective as it occurred right here in Ulster County and throughout our Mid-Hudson region. Our region definitely played a part in the history-making event. We have assembled an impressive panel of women who will speak, including retired Chief Justice of the Appellate Division of New York State Supreme Court, Karen Peters, Ulster County Clerk, Nina Pochapak, Ulster County Elections Commissioner, Ashley Dittis, and Cynthia Bell and Jennifer Clark from the League of Women's Voters of the Mid-Hudson region. Be sure to join us as we live stream our June virtual breakfast meeting from the 721 Media Center. It will also be available on the Chamber's Facebook page. And now to introduce our program this morning, here's our motivating president, Mr. Ward Todd. Ward?
David, thank you very much for your leadership and for your service. We welcome you all to our virtual breakfast meeting. It's been a delight to connect this way, as we've been mentioning the last couple of months. Not quite the same as we've been used to in the past, but when we get back to that old normal, we'll maybe fondly remember this new normal. I do sincerely want to thank all of you for being with us today, and I want to especially thank our good friends at the Ellen Bogan Creative Media here at 721 Media Center. We've been blessed to know and to work with this organization for more than 30 years now. They've really been on the forefront of media industry, helping companies and government and organizations communicate through audio and video. So whether it's live streaming like we're doing today, or video production, event AV, or digital marketing services, you can find out what a great company this is by giving them a call and working with them yourself. Visit ellenbogan.com for more information, or you can call them directly at 845 845-33-VIDEO, 845-33-VIDEO. Special thanks to Jeremy Ullenbogen, a member of our Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors as well. We hope to do this more often. Our next part of our program today is to give us a chance to welcome and recognize new members of the Ulster Chamber of Commerce. Those of you who've been to our breakfast meetings know that's a great part of our event to actually give new members a chance to be seen in front of our audience. Today, we turn that responsibility over to the Chamber's Director of Membership Engagement, Jess Davis. Give her a chance to say hi to our new members. Jess, good morning.
Good morning. I can't think of a more honorable time to be serving our existing members and a more exciting time to be welcoming new members. And so I've got quite a list here, which is really the best part of my job, I think. So I'd like to welcome A Slice of Italy, Marine DiNapoli, new member, pizza, takeout. They're open, ready to serve us. Ulster Care Primary Medical Care out of Newburgh, Catherine Argicola. A long time, great location here, D&H Canal Historical Society out of High Falls. The deputy director there is Bill Murray. Downtown Cafe, Kingston, right on the historic Rondout, Graziano. Welcome to the Chamber. Exago Inc., located in the Fuller Building here, right in Midtown Kingston. Stu Myers is the co-founder and CTO. Welcome, Exago. Hallwick Law, Erica Hallwick Williams, the new owner of Hallwick Law, LLC. A long time location, if you've been to Woodstock, you know about Jean Termo, and we're excited to welcome Jean Termo as a member. Welcome, Rebecca and family. That brings us to MC Creative. Mary Claire Cranston is the owner of MC Creative. Follow her on Instagram for all of the latest good stuff. Mid-Hudson Valley chapter of SHRM out of Goshen. Anne Marie Buckley is the president there. Human Services, Education, and Tutor. And the Mid-Hudson Valley Small Business Development Center, the regional director there, Arnaldo Severett, and you heard from him at our last breakfast meeting. And that takes us to the next one, Mohonk Landscaping and Turf Management out of Kingston. Landscape Contractors, Alex Cabrera is the owner there, and Mohonk Masonry. Again, Alex Cabrera, the owner. So he's got two great businesses here in the Ulster area. We welcome him to the Chamber. Olympic Diner, we welcome back Louis from the Olympic Diner. Salisbury Bank out of New Paltz, and the branch manager there is Madeline Odak. Welcome to the Chamber, Madeline and team. Sanctified Cleaning Services out of Kingston, Victoria Rouse is the owner. Cleaning Services Supplies. They focus on a natural approach to providing services. And then we've got Strategic Roots out of Ulster Park, Marjorie McCord, Marketing. Great time to reach out to a member and update your marketing approach and keep it current and relevant. Next, another restaurant, The Anchor, right on Broadway in Kingston. Brandy Walters and team, welcome. Grab a burger, they're the best. She's doing restaurant takeout and creating a new walk-up window. The venue uptown. So that's usually where we are for our chamber breakfast. And we miss it. We surely do. Deb Harris, Director of Sales. The venue uptown is located right there at the Best Western Plus. And then congratulations, Ulster County District Attorney David Clegg, and welcome as a chamber member. And last but not least, Ulster Youth Build out of Kingston, Bonnie Landy, making a difference in the lives of our youth, getting them on the right path, non-for-profit organization. And we have more to come. We've got a lot of people that we've been in touch with, and we're just going to keep growing our chamber. We've got more than 1,000 members, and we're growing strong together through this. Thank you, Ward.
All right, Jess, thank you very much, and welcome again to all our new members. You can contact Jess directly if you're interested in being a member yourself, or go to the Chamber website, ulsterchamber.org, for a good list of all the benefits of Chamber membership and find out about some of the events that we're doing, like our virtual breakfast meeting today. We are delighted to next have with us this morning the Ulster County Executive, Pat Ryan. And Pat, we've asked every month to come on and give us an update on Ulster County's recovery efforts. Love to get the economy going again, of course, find out what's happening from his perspective. And what a great segue today, Pat, to find out that there's really great news coming from Golden Hill Healthcare. So I thought maybe we could start with that and you could bring us up to date on testing that was done there as well as Ulster County's recovery efforts. So good morning, Pat Ryan. Thanks for being with us. And Pat, we've asked every month to come on and give us an update on Ulster County's recovery efforts. Love to get the economy going again, of course.
Hey, Ward. How are you? We had you were on mute here on our end, so I'm sorry if I'm slow coming in. Good morning, everybody. We're still all figuring out this wonderful 21st century technology, so thanks for bearing with us. Ward, thank you, and Jess and the whole chamber team for organizing this and making it happen. Very excited to see my colleagues, State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli and Deputy Comptroller Elliott Auerbach with the Woodstock poster in the background there. I love it. Good morning, everybody. I'll just take a few minutes to not take away from the main event of the program, the Comptroller. But the high-level situation here in Ulster County, from a public health perspective, I would say every day is more and more encouraging, which is obviously what we want to hear and what we've all been working towards by taking all these pretty aggressive measures that we've taken for the last 2 months. By a whole host of metrics and data points, all the public health measures are trending the way we want. Hospitalizations are significantly down. The number of new cases per day is significantly down. Our testing numbers are way, way up. We've now tested well over 10,000 residents at our 4 testing sites. And I think most encouragingly, last week we reached an inflection point where the number of people with active COVID cases is less than the number of people who have recovered, which is a very, very good statistic. So by all measures, we're on track in Ulster County, and even by the governor's 7 reopening metrics, as a county, we have met those, and that is really a credit to everyone, on this line and our whole community who have followed the pause guidelines and really gotten this under control. We are still waiting as a region, the Mid-Hudson region, to meet the criteria. My read and sense of that is that we're getting closer and closer every day and trending in the right direction as a region as well. So I believe that is coming soon. And we have been doing a series of work. We had a Zoom last Friday with several hundred businesses to talk through what reopening is going to look like. And I know that for all of you, this is confusing, uncertain, and complex. So we're here, as is the chamber, I know, to try to make it as simple as possible and clear as possible. And the state also and the governor and his team have done a great job there. I just want to highlight a few resources to that end, and then I'll wrap up my comments. So at the state level, New York State has set up this webpage called New York Forward. The URL is just forward.ny.gov. It is a very useful resource for anyone operating a business. There's a ton of good information on there. I want to point you to one specific tool that was launched over the weekend by the state. It's a business lookup tool. So any business out there, you go to this portal, forward.ny.gov. You put in the county you're operating in and the type of business that you are by your NAICS code or your industry, and there's guidance to help you figure that out if you don't know that. And then it will tell you for your business in your location, basically where you're at, what phase you're in, what protocol you need to follow, so that even if you're not in this initial phase 1, which is construction, manufacturing, curbside retail, and agriculture, you can know when you should be ready, and you can actually start building your business safety plan now, thinking through all those considerations of how to open safely, how to take care of your workforce, protect your customers, and all those considerations. So I would point you towards that New York Forward webpage is a great resource. And then to complement that as a county, again, I know that this is everybody's doing their best. The state's put up a great lot of information in that portal, but we recognized for our 7,000 businesses in the county and the 1,000+ members in the chamber, we want to be here and provide really high-touch support as a county through our economic development team if you have any questions. So we've been doing that through a series of webinars. I think we've now had 4. We'll continue to do those. But what we also are doing, our economic development team, we're launching this week, and we'll share all this detail with you and through Ward and the chamber as well. We are launching our business reopening support team. So basically, these are individuals from our office that will do very sector-specific walkthroughs with any business that's interested in what are the protocol you need to follow, how do you need to tweak your business plan for the new world that we're operating in, what are the new considerations on marketing and sales and all the different aspects of running a business. So that's run, these support teams, reopening support teams are run by our economic development office. And they're also available for at least some number of businesses to do really deep dive, multi-hour one-on-one business model, sort of revisiting and rethinking if you're interested in that. So we'll be putting out more information on that to you all and ask you to absolutely please take advantage of that. And as always, you can reach out to our economic development team. Lisa Berger and her team, as you all know, are fantastic. They're working around the clock, and I want to thank them. I want to thank the chamber. Jess, you are, relentless in out there advocating and helping our businesses. I see you sometimes when I'm out, driving around doing your thing, and of course, Ward and team. So I'm just really proud of how we continue to rally as a community. There are more tough times ahead. We're not through this, but I am very confident we will get through it, and we will come out of it sort of Ulster strong, if you will, and resilient. So thanks, everybody, and thanks, Ward, for the opportunity.
Pat, do you have just a minute for a question?
Oh, sure.
So if folks have a specific issue, an interpretation of the state rules that they're reading on the websites, can they call your office? Is there a contact person locally they can reach out to?
Yes, absolutely. So again, this is new uncharted territory. So I imagine there will be lots of questions, and we are here. You can call the county, my office, but really the best point is our economic development team, Lisa Berger and team. They are running all the efforts on this reopening and the business support side of that. I will admit I don't have their phone number memorized off the top of my head. I wish I could give it right now. I will say I'll get that. I can even get it to you throughout the course of this. I'll message it to you. But for most folks, if you go to our website, ulstercountyny.gov, ulstercountyny.gov, we have a whole COVID page. It's got all sorts of information about all the health metrics and testing sites, but there's a specific section for businesses. That has all the information I just articulated. It has the contact information right up top, email, phone, and so on for that office. So we're here for you all. We are in this absolutely together. And having been a business owner myself, I can feel for how hard it's been and how challenging it's going to be. So I just know that I'm with you all on this and appreciate you hanging in.
And just a final note, good news from Golden Hill Healthcare overnight.
Yeah, very good news. We tested our third senior facility. Thank you for reminding me of that, Ward. We tested our third senior facility, tested over 400 residents and staff, and only had one positive staff member, no positive residents. So that is a huge credit to the Golden Hill team, medical team and staff. And we're working with all of our senior facilities. We're going to be testing 2 more this week and working to get through all 13 by the end of the month. And I know how many folks are concerned about that, worried about that, including my own family. My grandmother's in one of those facilities we haven't been able to test yet. So we are working as fast as we can to keep our seniors safe and the staff as well there.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Thank you again. Thanks for your partnership this past weekend. We partnered on Shop Ulster Saturday. A lot of folks got out and did some online shopping. Not quite the same, but retail is starting to come back, so we thank you for that.
We're almost there. We're almost there. I think we're days away, I hope, at this point. So
Right.
thanks.
Thanks again, Pat. We have our guest speaker coming up in a moment. Every month we have the delight of welcoming, however, a great chamber member, a longtime chamber member, and in fact a corporate leader here at the Chamber of Commerce, Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. So we'd like to say good morning today to their Chief Retail Officer, Chris Gomez, is with us. Our sponsor again, Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Ward. What an opportunity we have to connect this morning virtually. Before I dive into some of my prepared remarks, I really would love an opportunity to just thank Ward and his team, just to echo our county executive's comments. Having you as a pillar of light throughout this, informing us and keeping us collected is really important before this crisis, during, and we're looking forward to the future. And also our county executive, Pat Ryan, thank you for you and your team. You know, unprecedented times really require unprecedented leadership, and we thank you for that. And what you guys have really been supporting us. So before we dive a little bit into what we've been working on over the last couple months, I just wanted to do a quick elevator pitch on MHV. MHV Federal Credit Union has been here for many, many years, domiciled in Ulster County. We were founded on the principles of people helping people by a collective group of IBM employees right here in Kingston. We're headquartered here, and we've been supporting Ulster County for many years. Now, as we progress through this new normal, like many businesses this morning, we've had to do many different things. And so, for example, branch lobbies, just like restaurants having to close their doors, or branch lobbies, we had to close those doors. We have opened that up for appointment banking. So those of you that are members, we're there for you for those really true important needs, for whether it be a notary for something that's very critical, a trust account, an estate account, or if you're just not that savvy on a mobile device, we're still there for you. We have served hundreds of members over the last 8 weeks to support their financial needs. And the interesting thing, many of our members, over 85,000 within this area, we serve 7 counties, but mainly in the Hudson Valley area. They walk by those machines, as you know, of our lobbies. Those aren't ATM machines, mainly. Those are called personal teller machines, and those machines are open at extended hours. And the interesting thing, we've got dozens of member feedback saying, wow, it's the first time I've used those machines. And if you don't know, as you used to go grab a phone, which most of us don't want to do anymore, at that machine, those machines are connected, just like we are virtually, to Ulster County here in a call center environment with a camera on them and a camera on you. And you could do 99% of the transactions you would at a teller. So whether you have a check to cash, a large withdrawal of currency, a large deposit of currency, which you couldn't do at an ATM, we are still serving members in that capacity at an increased level, open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. During these times. Thirdly, we have our contact center. We have a robust contact center staff with employees both remote now during this pandemic, and also in our headquarters on Ulster Ave. And we have seen an 88% increase from our membership and increased call volume. The good news, that doesn't mean you wait longer. We've been able to support through our branch teams that have branch lobbies closed to answer the phones. So instead of seeing increased call volumes, which you're seeing on a national scale, and maybe hour wait times, we're able to serve your needs within less than a minute. And we're proud to say that. The cool thing is you may speak to your branch manager. That's one of your favorite partners. And they're answering phones right now to support the community. Thirdly, when you really think about that, many new normals, and as we progress, more and more to come. In addition, our drive-through services are wide open, and also all of our digital means, whether you want to apply for a loan, open an account, we're there for you. I would like to highlight a little bit of PPP. Many of you are participants of PPP in the Payment Protection Program. We're proud to say that we handled all those inquiries locally and did not farm them out. John Dwyer and his team on member business loans really worked with hundreds of businesses, millions of dollars in loan proceeds, and more importantly, 1,400 jobs as a result of that program. And we want to thank John and his team through our commercial area. In addition, giving back is one of the foundations of this community. So not just volunteerism, but also philanthropically. So the credit union was very proud to work with the county executive's office and Project Resilience and People's Place, just to name a few, where we donated $5,000 support, really food insecurities, because that's what we heard from our membership is critical. In addition, we focused in on Hudson Valley Gives. Many of you, if it wasn't going to be announced today, is tomorrow. It's one of the largest one-day single giving that you can do digitally, and we work closely with the Community Foundation of Orange Sullivan Biz and her team to really identify areas of giving. What we've decided as an organization, many events that have been canceled, whether it be golf outings, whether it be fall events and galas, all of those unfortunately have been either postponed or canceled. Instead of waiting for those sponsorship requests, we're going to be proud to make monetary donations on Hudson Valley Gives for all of the 3 counties that we mainly serve, mainly Ulster, Orange, and Dutchess. So we're very proud to do that tomorrow, and we're mobilizing a team to make some proud announcements. So those nonprofits on, hopefully you're excited to see your name as we progress to do that. Lastly, we've worked really with our members on hardship requests. Many of our members of the community are struggling financially as a result of this pandemic. So please, as you reach out to us, we're working with over 3,500 clients so far to support them, whether it be a loan deferment or process that we can help in maybe pushing back some loan payments until we're back to normal or a new normal. And finally, financial education is a pillar of what we do. So please check us out on our podcasts, Off the Trail, or on our website for many of the financial boot camps that we just launched to support, whether it be basics of credit, finance, or managing funds in uncertain times. So want to thank again the Chamber for all you do to bring us together. And Ward, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so very much, Chris. Again, thanks for your sponsorship for this morning. Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, longtime member and corporate sponsor of the Chamber of Commerce. We're delighted to welcome our featured speaker this morning, and to assist us with that, we thought it made so much sense to turn to a longtime friend of the Chamber, former member of our Chamber Board, and someone who served as Ulster County's first elected county controller, serving in that capacity until just about 1 year ago this day, I think, if memory serves me right. So we welcome in our Ulster County's former controller, now the Deputy New York State Controller in charge of local government and school accountability, Elliott Auerbach. Good morning, Elliott.
Well, good morning, Ward. Good morning. And good morning, Ulster County. How great it is to be sharing breakfast with all of you this morning and not having to wait online for the bacon and the eggs. I do miss the personal handshakes and hugs and high fives with everybody. This morning, instead of sitting around the tables, many of us are sitting at home. And while our paradigms may have shifted, the one constant is the resolve of our community. These are unprecedented and unparalleled times with a future that remains unforeseen. But let us examine not what we are witnessing because of the coronavirus, but what we are seeing in spite of the coronavirus. We have united as innovators and leaders. We have Zoomed and virtually visited. We have carpoorated for birthdays and graduations. We have fed hungry families and supported local restaurants. We have given our money, our time, and our hearts to help others. We have cried and grieved and mourned our losses, and now we are ready to come out of our homes and rebuild our businesses and our communities together. As we begin to reopen our doors and restore our economy, we need leaders who are truthful and transparent. And there is no better leader to do that than New York State's 54th Comptroller, Thomas P. DiNapoli, a man known for his integrity, independence, and even-keeled leadership. Tom's record as State Comptroller reflects an unwavering commitment to protect the people's money, hold government accountable, and rebuild a better future for all of us New Yorkers. Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas P. DiNapoli.
Good morning, everyone. And Elliott, thank you very much for that generous introduction. I know your joining our team was a loss for Ulster County, but you've been a great asset to the Controller's Office, and I know you've kept your Ulster roots. I just hope that I'll check with Ward after this morning. I hope you're still paying your dues to the Chamber, so that's important as well, even if you're not a board member anymore. But good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us. I think most are on through Facebook. I certainly want to thank Ward Todd for his great leadership as president of the Chamber, the invitation to be with all of you, Dave Gagnon, chairman of the board. I appreciated hearing Jess Davis's updates on all the new members in spite of everything we're going through. What a credit it is to the reputation of the Ulster Chamber that you have so many new members still coming on board. Elliott has always bragged about how wonderful the chamber is in Ulster County, and certainly I have seen that firsthand on many occasions. And you know, when I was a member of my local chamber back in the days when I was in the state legislature, I was always impressed with how my chamber locally in Great Neck, and certainly I've seen this all across the state, you are the conveners of very important interest groups, the business community, obviously, but also the not-for-profit sector, which is a very underappreciated part of our economy all across our state, and obviously government as well. And certainly as we navigate through this, unprecedented challenge, having an entity like the Ulster Chamber to bring together all those key interests, as you're doing this morning, as you do every day, as you will do as part of the reopening, really, your efforts are needed now more than ever. Thanks as well to Chris Gomez and the credit union team for sponsoring this breakfast this morning. And I just want to note, which I was very impressed with actually, when Dave opened it up with the pledge. I've done many of these meetings with Zoom and all these different technologies. This is the first one where you stuck with opening up with the pledge. And as we hit the Memorial Day weekend, I think that's a nice reminder of what it is all about to be an American and how important we stay connected in each and every way. I also want to note another great advantage that you have in your region of the state, and that is having incredible elected leadership that really have been laser focused on what we need to do to survive this very, very challenging time. I am a huge fan of your county executive. Pat Ryan really does an extraordinary job, and I should point out that he was the first local official that invited me to travel down to his office and to participate in one of these, I guess it was Facebook that we used. And I was just so impressed from the very beginning of this crisis. Pat Ryan put a priority on communicating with the larger community so that everyone in Ulster County would know what's going on. And as we just heard from his quick report this morning, I mean, he and his team are on top of everything. And you are just so fortunate to have the kind of leadership that you have in your county executive. So my hat's off always to him. Marge Gallagher, your county controller, Steve Noble, the mayor of Kingston. Kingston's an important hub for your county. Again, great, engaged, focused leadership. Some of you may have read that we were working in a partnership with Dave Clegg, your district attorney, his colleague in Orange County, Dave Hoovler, as well in our investigations office. You know, we know we're going through a challenging time and everybody's trying to reach out and help each other. We also know human nature. Some people try to take advantage of every situation. And so certainly there have been instances of fraud, of ripping off consumers, of trying to cheat and get some of the benefits that you may not be entitled to. So working with your DA and the Orange County DA, we are going to have a very focused effort on making sure that if there's any fraud out there, anybody trying to take advantage of the situation, we will be on top of it and we will make sure that they are held accountable. So really, when I think of Ulster County, in terms of the business relationship that's promoted with the chamber, your elected leadership, you really have an incredible combination. And sometimes you need to hear that from someone who doesn't live in your community, that's viewing it objectively as an outsider. So really to Ward and the team at the chamber, thank you for being such a key part of really just an incredible community. And you certainly know that for our shop, and as I go through my presentation, if there are any questions offline, obviously Elliott is a wonderful in-house ambassador for your community. Always feel free to reach out to him, even if it's not about a local government or school district issue. And Matt Martini, our regional rep for the Hudson Valley, I know he's on the Facebook program. He also is to be considered a resource and a contact for you from the Comptroller's office. So what I would like to do, as I've done in many of these presentations, as we do it virtually all across the state, is really give you an update from our perspective in the Comptroller's office. Hopefully some of the information might be new, but I think certainly it gives you a sense of the broader context of what we're dealing with in New York from an economic and a governmental point of view. And I certainly want to say first off, a lot of what I'll talk about, are numbers and economics and revenue and government issues, but you can never escape the fact that ultimately this is a public health crisis, a public health issue. And while we obviously are concerned about the impact on government services and the economy, first and foremost, it's a public health agenda that we have to pursue. And, again, putting a priority on safety, putting a priority even as we reopen, to do it in a way that we don't, as you know, many people are concerned, will we have a recurrence of infection? We certainly don't want to see that happen. So reopening, yes, but doing it wisely, I think, is very important. Continuing to recognize the incredible efforts of those on the front line. Many of your members have been providing very important services to the community to keep us getting through all of this. And obviously those involved with healthcare particularly. Those emergency responders, police and fire, emergency services, but the men and women working in the hospital and the medical facilities, in the nursing homes and the assisted living facilities. I mean, really heroic efforts each and every day. And, we can't thank them enough. The educators as well, our schools not being open and having to keep on the education of our young people with, the new technologies and the new way of doing things. Last week we had National Nurses Appreciation Week, Teacher Appreciation Week. It's National EMS Week. It's appropriate that we recognize all of these heroes that really have been getting us through this very, 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 very challenging time. We certainly know New York has been the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've been following that. You felt it in your own community. Although the numbers obviously have gotten much better, there's still people being diagnosed, and obviously still people dying. And many of us have, if not in our own families, certainly know of families who have lost people. And what a challenging time it is to lose a loved one. The traditional ways that we celebrate a life, we can't do. I mean, it's really been in many ways a heart-wrenching experience for so many of us. So, as you hear a lot of folks speaking to these days, and the governor mentioned it the other day in his briefing, one of the consequences of all this is, besides the fact that we really have to reevaluate our public health system, or lack of a unified public health system in the state, the issue of mental health and surviving the disease and the crisis, not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally, probably is going to have to be part of an ongoing agenda. So the loss of life is obviously the greatest concern, public health the greatest concern, but we've had economic devastation as well. And that has its own, terrible consequences, which is why certainly I think we're all pleased that we're moving to a different phase. The governor, and I have to say, Governor Cuomo has really done an extraordinary job in keeping us all updated with his daily briefings. And as you know, he early on indicated that when we got to this point, and thankfully we're here, the reopening would have a regional approach and a phased-in approach. And, the good news is we've seen tremendous progress. You've got 6 regions of the state that have met those, the metrics that the governor has laid out there. You know what they are, so I won't go through them, but the Buffalo area, Western New York, I guess today is starting its reopening. The capital region, Albany, I'm here in the Albany office. The only piece left is the number of tracers to be hired, and that's anticipated to be a day or so away. So that phase 1 process is happening in many, many parts of the state, beginning, as Pat reminded us, construction, manufacturing, curbside retail, agriculture. Your region still has a ways to go, although I would note that Ulster County within the region, you've been meeting the metrics for the past couple of weeks, I'm told. So that's certainly, again, a credit to your efforts, and the other counties in your region, have been making progress. But, certainly Long Island, where I live, has a ways to go. Obviously, New York City as well will probably be the last of the regions. But, we have to look at it as, one step at a time, and hopefully for your region, that phase 1 can happen, hopefully, in a matter of days, or hopefully within a week or so. And I know everyone is working very, very hard for that. And as I mentioned, the priority has to be on the reopening, doing it in a safe way. And I know that's the priority that everyone is focused on. So what has been the economic impact? And again, you're involved in the local community, you see it on the front line. So looking at it bigger picture, probably reinforcing what you've been feeling locally and what you've been reading. We saw for the first quarter nationally, gross domestic product down 4.8%, biggest drop since the 08-09 crisis when the Great Recession hit and the stock market tanked. Keep in mind when we talk about first quarter results, the first quarter, really the January, February, and the first 2 weeks of March were one picture. Is that those last 2 weeks of March, when we got hit hard by this, is really what caused the economic devastation. So just to think in 2 weeks to go from what had been a very strong quarter to a negative 4.8 is quite incredible. So certainly now that we're in the second quarter of the calendar year, we know the numbers are going to be much, much lower. 20%, could it be 30% by the end of June, 40%, we'll see as the final numbers come in. We certainly know April was a very, very tough month. You see the historic numbers of those applying for unemployment benefits. You saw in April a loss of 20.5 million jobs nationally, virtually wiping out all the job gains over the past decade. 14.7% national unemployment, a percentage not as high as what was experienced during the Great Depression. But what really makes this economic challenge so difficult is that the Great Depression happened over a period of time. The economic fallout from the COVID-19 crisis just happened overnight. So it's how rapid the economy was put on hold, how rapid the job losses happened, that really has created such a challenging dynamic. You probably saw the updated numbers in the press here in New York. Since mid-March, $9.2 billion paid out in unemployment benefits to over 2 million New Yorkers. Keep in mind that 9.2 billion figure, and here we are in May, compare that to the total for last year in unemployment benefits paid out, 2.1 billion. So we're far exceeding, the numbers for last year. We put out quarterly sales tax reports. Sales tax are very important revenue to the state and to our localities, certainly as County Executive Ryan knows, for the counties, very important revenue source for virtually all of our counties, more important revenue source, more significant revenue source than property tax. So we put out a quarterly sales tax report to really show economic trends. And I said to the team, Elliott puts this out, that how relevant are the first quarter sales tax numbers, because everything has changed. And so certainly the first quarter showed statewide a 4.6% increase in sales tax revenue. So on the face of it, that's good news. It shows growth. But again, because we're in this new reality, what's still very helpful in looking at those numbers, when we drill down, we found that just in the last 2 weeks of March, a precipitous drop. So New York City Metro, which is where this all really first started, like the rest of the state, they had a very strong beginning of the quarter, right through mid-March. Just in those last 2 weeks, sales tax revenue in the city dropped 12%. So that's why we really said what we have to do, because information is important, data points are important as we navigate through this tough time. So something that we usually have not done in the past, we've decided to do some monthly reporting on sales tax results, again, to give people information. So you may have seen the April report that we put out. Sales tax collections plummeted by 24.4% in April compared to a year earlier. And Ulster had an even higher drop, 29.1%. Every county and every region of the state saw a large drop in their sales tax revenue in the month of April. So same thing for city sales tax collections as well, not just for the counties. So that's just one data point in terms of tax revenue. You look at again the economy being on hold, the revenue that would come from occupancy taxes, hotel taxes, real estate transactions, the kind of tax revenue that comes from that. As we move forward, people not working, perhaps not being able to pay their property taxes. Not a state issue. We don't have a state property tax, but certainly for our localities could be a big issue. So, we just see the revenue streams to government really being stressed and really being challenged. So from the state perspective, we had the updated financial plan about 2 weeks ago, projected for the year of $13.3 billion shortfall in terms of tax revenue. a very significant drop versus what had first been anticipated. People ask me, are we broke? Kind of an oversimplified way of asking the question. And the reality is the state ended the fiscal year definitely with money in the bank. At the beginning of this month, we had 8.6 billion cash on hand. That's money though that's being spent. So the week before the beginning of this month, we burned through about $533 million. So money's being spent, and May and June particularly are big payout months for the state, particularly with regard to the school aid. As you know, we have the delay in the tax filing to July 15th. That's going to result in about $9 billion of revenue the state could have expected, but it's not going to be there. Are there any plus signs that are out there? Well, we have been leveraging and receiving some of the federal support as part of the various packages and legislation that's been enacted in Washington. We have received $5.1 billion from Washington. That's from the COVID Relief Fund. That's targeted for reimbursement for expenses related to dealing with the pandemic. At this point, the financial plan just has spending of about 133 million of that. Part of the challenge is working with the Department of Treasury on the guidance to just be sure about how to account for those reimbursements. The updated guidance from the Treasury shows a little more flexibility than had first been anticipated. So although we haven't spent much of that money yet, we are anticipating, in fact, New York will be able to draw down virtually all of that money as we move through the next few weeks and months. So the way the state budget was put together this year, it was in many ways a placeholder budget, I guess I would call it. There were numbers in the budget that really were based on an assumption that we have to reevaluate depending on the revenue and the spending trends as to whether or not we could fulfill the commitments that were in the state budget. And the governor, through the Division of Budget, was given extraordinary powers and authority in many levels to deal with the emergency, but in terms of the budget, to adjust the budget figures if we didn't have the money to keep the commitments that were made. And there were three trigger points, 3 dates that would trigger executive action to adjust the budget numbers, and obviously adjust them downward would be the consequence. The first of those triggers was May 15th. So May 15th just passed. We put out from the Comptroller's office a monthly cash report, which is an accounting of state revenue and spending. And that May 15th report was the first trigger of giving the governor the flexibility to make adjustments in the state budget. Probably no surprise, it showed that year over year, monthly tax receipts fell over 68% from the year before, way below the projected estimate of what was needed to avoid possible budget cuts. So to deal with the shortfall, the governor was given the authority to do budget cuts and also the authority to do expanded borrowing. Basically, we put aside, or not withstood, I guess is the legal way to say it, the statutory limitations on debt for the state. So the governor's authorized us to have authority to borrow an additional $11 billion. The financial plan anticipates $4.5 billion of borrowing in the first quarter of our fiscal year. Again, that's the April to June period. Our fiscal year starts April 1st, so it's different from the calendar year. So the options are when we have a shortfall, cutting spending or doing additional borrowing. I was on a call with the chamber in Chautauqua County yesterday, and the question was, is there any announcement of cuts or any slow in payments? And you may have heard last Friday, the governor indicated that contrary to what had been signaled earlier, because there are discussions in Washington about additional help, there would not be any imminent budget cuts. And again, the cuts, the concern would be, the broad outline was of 1.6 billion in cuts to state agencies, 8.2 billion in cuts in local assistance. So local assistance is support for our counties, cities, towns, villages, our school districts. And the concern is an obvious one. If the state has to balance its books by transferring this problem to the local level, that just amplifies the problem at the local level, where already there are significant revenue shortfalls as well that our local officials have to contend with. So, the sense was that more information would be coming out when deemed appropriate. So we woke up this morning to the Wall Street Journal article that maybe some of you saw. So perhaps there'll be more information coming out of the governor's briefing later today. But I would assume this article was in effect sending the first message as to how we're dealing with this. And it outlined that the state, through the budget director, is the one who was quoted, Rob Mojica, holding back on $1 billion worth of state spending. And that will include aid that had been scheduled to private colleges, revenue due to some of our counties from the sale of medical marijuana, $370 million of grants that were in the pipeline for some of our upstate cities that were scheduled to be made before the end of May or in June, and signaled a warning. Again, this is not not an announced cut as far as I read the article, but a warning that the school districts should be prepared for a 20% cut in school aid. So when I was asked the question yesterday, and should talk with, is there any slowdown in terms of commitments and payments? The answer was, I haven't heard of anything yet. Well, now we hear that in fact there will be a slowdown in some of these payments. So hopefully, as I said, we'll get more detail on that today. That doesn't mean that those grants to our cities or the aid for the colleges, that it won't happen. It's just I guess a cash flow management where there is going to be a slowdown in those payments. So we have a budget challenge, particularly right now in the first quarter of our fiscal year. All the economic analysis suggests that the economic fallout will be more than a temporary impact. In fact, it'll probably affect us in 2021, 2022 as well. Certainly the out-year budget gaps that we're projecting now are much higher than they had been just a couple of months ago. What does this all lead to? Well, we could cut programs. That has negative implications. We could borrow. If short-term borrowing becomes long-term deficit financing, it obligates future taxpayers, and New York already is a very highly indebted state. Some folks are talking about tax increases to deal with the shortfall. My own personal view, in the middle of an economic crisis, is probably not the smartest time to propose tax increases. Not that there aren't some valid points of discussion on tax equity in our state. It really gets back to what you've been hearing about, and that is the need for more support in terms of direct aid from the federal government, from Washington. I've written a few op-eds. Obviously, the governor has spoken about this, and my sense is, on a bipartisan basis, in New York State, our federal delegation, our members of Congress, and our senators certainly understand that New York needs more help. We need this direct aid, unrestricted aid to the state, so that the state could keep its budget in balance and not transfer its problem to the local level. And even if the state budget commitments, will hold up, we see the revenue shortfall for our counties and for our localities and our cities. They need direct aid as well. As you know, last week, at the end of the week, the House passed a bill, some $3 trillion package with significant aid to the states and localities. Governor Cuomo had asked for $61 billion for the state in the bill last week. I think it was a bit more than that would have been allocated to New York State. There's obviously a bit of debate going on. Fortunately, one of the ideas, which is to have states declare bankruptcy seems to be off the table. It really was one of the dumber ideas, because first of all, a state can't declare bankruptcy, so it's a non-starter right there. But that really is not a solution. So I from my point of view, what we're certainly going to continue to do is indicate that we do need more help from Washington. It has to be unrestricted aid. It has to be not just for the state. It has to be for our localities as well, including Ulster County and cities like Kingston. And timing is an issue. I know there's a lot of debate going on now, but that's a debate we can't be having a month or two from now, because we're just going to run out of time, and you will see some of these very onerous cuts. And once a cut happens, it's very difficult to undo that. Many of you have seen the other piece of the argument, which I think is a valid one. We've done reports over the years, and the governor has cited reports from the Rockefeller Institute. New York, as you remember, Senator Moynihan always put out that balance of payments report. New York still is a net giver to the federal treasury, and we're at the bottom in terms of money that we get back for the tax dollars that we send there. So I don't think it's an unreasonable ask to say that as New York really has been the hardest hit of the states, we really do need more help. But keep in mind, every state is being impacted by this. So when we talk about more help from the federal government, we're not talking about it just for New York State. And we should also keep in mind, nobody's talking about bailing out a state because of fiscal mismanagement. I mean, the economic devastation, the loss of revenue is directly tied to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the seizing up and the putting on hold of the economy. We're not making up for budget shortfalls in other areas. We appreciate the help thus far. We appreciate the expanded payments for Medicaid has been an important revenue source from Washington. We do need more help. And, we're not looking to bail out the pension fund. That's been another, debate point that's been out there. And as I wrap up, I do want to give you a quick update. Our pension fund, we went into this crisis as one of the best funded state pension plans in the country. Besides being one of the largest in the country, we were at 96% funded, the fourth best funded out of the 50 states. So we're not looking for help with our pension fund. We know how to manage that. We certainly did. We value our fund March 31st. Wasn't probably the best date to value the fund, but we're tied to the state fiscal year. We don't have the final numbers in yet. We were headed to a great positive double-digit return. Again, in those last 2 weeks of March, a tremendous volatility in the market. So we're going to end the year with a negative return. I don't have the final numbers, but just by way of comparison, 10 years ago with the Great Recession and the markets tanking, we lost 26% value of the fund in 1 year, 26%. So the good news is for this year, it's going to be a single-digit negative. Again, I don't have the final one, so I don't want to venture a tentative number because it's going to be our audited number, so we have to be careful on this one. But we had already positioned the fund in a more conservative way. We had lowered our assumed rate of return. But I do believe because we will have a negative year, we're going to have to raise the contribution rate that we charge to our government employers for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Again, that's going to show the ongoing impact of what we've been going through. But again, we're well funded. Those of you who have family members who are part of the retirement system, we have no problem paying the benefits. We're getting the job done. And again, we went into it in a strong way, as we've done in the past, after 9/11, after the Great Recession. We will come out of it quicker than other pension plans, and retirement security is not at risk. Just to wrap up in terms of what we're doing, we're in business where most of us are operating remotely. There are a handful of us here in the Albany office, but fortunately we have a lot of laptops. We're a pretty tech savvy organization, so the bills are being paid, the contracts are being approved, the pension checks are going out, the payroll checks are going out. We are working with the governor's office. There's been a lot of issues with the Department of Labor and the unemployment benefits. We're the final part of that process in terms of the payments. So when we do get the information from Department of Labor, we have been expediting those payments as quickly as possible. We've approved over $720 million in emergency payments related to the pandemic response. Our normal review of payments and contracts has been suspended in the emergency, but we're doing the best we can to not only expedite the payments, but at least double check that the payments are appropriate and are valid. Also in terms of the pension fund, I do want to mention a program. I think we have a slide on pursuit lending. I think we can put it up. We'll see if it comes up. We've had a long-term investment relationship with the New York Business Development Corporation, which recently was renamed to Pursuit Lending. So Pat McCrell and the team there reached out to us with some of the money we had already allocated to them. They said that they could take advantage of some of the pluses of the federal PPP. I know the Payroll Protection Plan has had some bumpy starts in the beginning. There are some positives to it, though. And what we've been able to do is allocate $50 million of the money we had already invested with Pursuit Lending for small business loans in New York State. So as I said, this is a long-term relationship that we've had. We get some of the protections from the federal government, but some folks have asked some questions. We have a guaranteed return in our relationship with Pursuit Lending. That continues. We treat it as like a fixed income investment, so we get a treasury plus a slight premium return. In this case now, tied to the pandemic response, small businesses can contact Pursuit Lending. There's no minimum on the business loan. Maximum is $350,000. So this is not, what you've been reading about where a big corporation gets 10, 15 million. This is not that kind of a program. It is a New York tailored program. There's a 25% goal of lending to women and minority firms. Unlike other SBA programs, 501c3 nonprofits are eligible as well. Again, the fund gets our guaranteed return. So even if some of these loans, again, falling under the federal guidelines, could be forgiven, the federal backstop ensures that Pursuit Lending doesn't lose any money on this, and they guarantee that we still get our return. So for some of you on the call, be it a small business or 501c3, if you've had challenges getting other loans through SBA or the PPP, I want you to consider contacting Pursuit Lending. The website is Pursuit Lending, spelled out, pursuitlending.com. Their phone number is 866-466-9232, 866-466-9232. And I just offer that as another option for a small business loan. And keep in mind, it's one way that our pension fund makes money for the fund, but also helps the larger community. And I know how important that is as we go through this crisis. Also, you can always reach us on our website, osc.state.ny.us. We have a lot of valuable information on there, including a new part of the website, a COVID-19 financial survival toolkit for New Yorkers. This is a web page dedicated to helping New Yorkers navigate the challenges of the pandemic, information on healthcare, employment, paying bills, help for small businesses, help for nonprofits as well. Information on there for state and local government workers about making sure your retirement system beneficiary information is up to date, how to sign up for direct deposit, either for your paycheck or for your retirement check. So again, useful information there. Our phone number is staffed all the time during business hours, 518-474-4040. So we encourage people to call us here in Albany, or as I said, I volunteered Elliott and Matt for your local contacts. And we always like to remind everyone about unclaimed funds, abandoned money, old bank accounts, checks that weren't cashed. If after a period of dormancy, it's turned over to us in the state. Ulster County, we have over 62,000 accounts and a valuation of over $28 million of unclaimed funds. So if you or your organization hasn't checked lately, now is a great time to see if we owe you any money. And so again, just go to the website, click on unclaimed funds, or 800 number is 1-800-221-9311. I'll wrap it up there and just say, I really want to echo the spirit that Pat Ryan gave in the beginning, and that is a sense of optimism as we move forward. We still have a lot of challenges out there in the short run, but we're New York tough, and we're Americans, and we have the right spirit to get through challenging times. I'm old enough to have lived through 9/11, lived through the Great Recession. Here's another challenge. I don't know why every 10 years we get these challenges, but we do. This one obviously feels a little different because of the public health dimension, but based on history, we are going to get through it. What it requires, though, is shared understanding, obviously shared sacrifice is what we've been going through, and communication, sharing strategies. What do we need to do to get the economy moving again and do it in a safe way? And it really gets back to you at the Chamber and the Ulster, the larger Ulster community. We need to be in touch. We need to know from you what support you need from us and what will be the smart strategies that will help your community get back to whatever that new normal is going to be as soon as possible. So let me end it there and thank you for your patience and see if you have any questions.
I think that's it. Thank you so very much, New York State Controller Thomas DiNapoli. We thank you very, very much for your time this morning, and Deputy Controller Elliott Auerbach as well. A lot of helpful information, and we look forward to working with you and communicating with you further. So again, thanks for your time this morning. Very, very informative. We have a reminder for our members and prospective members and the general public. We'd love to see you back here in June. It was very significant. 100 years ago, the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was approved, and we have a great panel coming in here to talk about the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. It should be a very compelling program, and we're looking forward to doing it. And thank all of the folks who will be participating. Retired Judge Karen Peters and Nina Postyapak, Ashley Dittis, Cynthia Bell, Jennifer Clark, all helping out to make sure that we all remember the importance of that legislation and how it really dramatically changed not just the events worldwide, but locally right here, things changed dramatically as well. So thanks again to our speakers this morning, Tom DiNapoli, Elliott Auerbach, our county exec, Pat Ryan. Want to thank Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, our sponsor today, great friends of the Chamber, and we thank them so much for their support. Again, a great breakfast meeting coming up for you in June. And as we mentioned last month, we try to end on a positive note. I don't have a movie review for you today, but I will remind folks, if you've not done so yet, please go to the Chamber's Facebook page. You'll find out there's a great number of information there you'll find very helpful, including the Ulster Eateries United, which really is bringing together our restaurants and delis and cafes, posting the most amazing meals that they're preparing for you to take out. And then the cool part is you can go home and take a picture on your dining room table of those meals as you've laid them out for the family. As businesses are, more and more of them are reopening, we have another Facebook group called Ulster Small Businesses United. We invite businesses to post the specials and what they're doing in our economy. And the final note is the Ulster Chamber's Hometown Healthcare Heroes, which has been an amazing success, a chance for us to spread the word about the great work our folks in healthcare have been doing. The stories that have been told about these folks by their friends and by their family, their coworkers, are really amazing stories. So go back, read today's, another great story that was posted today, and look back the last several weeks. We really have some heroes right here in our midst, and we're so blessed at all the great work they're doing. Final thanks to our corporate sponsors who make our programs possible year-round. We could not do this without you as well. We thank you so much for joining us today for our program. We look forward to seeing you next month right here. Till then, be safe and stay well.